This is a video of the RCI-2980, old version by Ranger Communications. As you can see, the radio has dual meters. It has a S unit signal meter. It also has a RF SWR meter. The meters work independently of each other. On this radio, you've got a Roger beep, a noise blank, echo, 10 kilohertz switch, and an SWR switch. You also have your microphone plug, which is a 4-plug standard Cobra type plug. You have a calibration knob for adjusting the SWR to calibrate it. You have a tone control which adjusts the high-low levels of the sound coming through the speaker. RF gain, mic gain. Your control for the channels is controlled on a large knob in the middle. You have a CW, FM, AM, USB, LSB modes. You have the adjustable RF power output. The radio currently is set, you can set it all the way down to 0 output. With the dual finals in this radio, you can see around 40 watts PEP. The maximum dead key setting I'd suggest for this radio would be 8 to 10 watts. Has a band selector switch, select different bands. Squelch, you have AF gain, which in this sense for our purposes would be the volume knob. And you have a fine and a coarse clarifier control. Phone jack has a fairly large speaker on the side of this radio. You've got a 5-digit frequency display. It does not have the 6-digit, which is unfortunate, but still does have the frequency counter. And it does have the modes to tell you which mode you are in case you can't tell by looking at the knob. And it also does have a TX light to show when you're transmitting. Now, I don't know why on the particular radio I'm testing out here the frequency counter is a little slow to respond when changing channels. It does catch up eventually. It takes just a couple seconds though. There's just a couple second delay. As you can see, I just changed the band that it's in, the coverage. This particular radio, the coverage is up to 28.305, and on the low side it goes down to 25.615. Taking a look at the back of the radio, so let's turn the radio off and we'll have a look at the inside. Okay, we've taken off the cover. On this particular radio there are 2 screws on the left hand side and the right hand side casing, and on the back there's 3 smaller screws along the top to get the cover off. There's a view of the power supply, and you can see the power supply run into the heatsink on the back. The finals on the radio are connected to a metal casing that runs around the inside. There isn't a direct heatsink out the back of the radio, but the metal casing around it I assume works like a heatsink for the dissipation around the radio. This is your echo board on the side. It's mounted in kind of a strange tilted position. Some pots that people might be interested in for adjustments inside this radio. You've got your AM modulation pot right here. You've got your single sideband ALC control here. Your AM modulation for high power controls here. That controls your dead key. I can't zoom in close enough to get the reading on the board, but your lower sideband frequency adjustment is going to be L20, and your upper sideband frequency adjustment is going to be L21.
Radio Magazine audio test of RCI-2980. Okay, we'll give it a good 5 count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Audio checking, 2980 audio.
The 2980 is no longer in production in this particular version. The newer 2980 WX is available with the weather channels. It's a little bit different. If I believe I'm correct, it doesn't have the echo built into it anymore. The older style, you know, you only can really pick them up at swap meets, on eBay, things like that. The radios also had a similar one to this one called the Eagle 2000, and basically the same thing, just a different name on it. The performance on them is very good on AM. They have very strong modulation, fairly clear if you don't overmodulate it, don't use too much mic gain. And the power output is fairly impressive for the type of radio that it is. You'll see anywhere up to 40 watts in some cases on AM and sideband. Some people have said that you can tune them up to 50 watts. The sideband performance on it is very good. It does take a little while to warm up to get on frequency, at least with a particular model that I have here. It may just be a tuning issue to retune it a bit so it stays a little tighter on frequency. I noticed that the frequency counter doesn't match up to where you actually are exactly. Right now it's actually on 27.385, but it's showing 386. The clarifier control is very sensitive on the fine control, which is nice to have, and the coarse control has a lot of movement on it, so you can really go up or down with it. Overall, it's a very nice base radio, very solidly made. I have the handles for it, for the rack mount, so you can put the handles on it if you want. Performance is excellent. It's got great receive, great transmit. Haven't noticed any problems with it so far in the testing. This is a fairly old radio. No longer in production, so you know, when these type of radios are still around and holding up, that's always a good sign. This has been a review of the RCI-2980 by cbradiomagazine.com. This radio has only been used in a manner for testing and has not been used for transmission purposes. For information and other reviews of radios and articles, please visit cbradiomagazine.com.